Welcome to Doccast. I'm your host, David Andrew Weeb, and I wanted to talk a little bit about social media marketing for musicians. I think a lot of musicians are very dependent on Facebook and Twitter, and I definitely understand why. When MySpace kind of collapsed and Facebook started to gain momentum, a lot of people decided to move over there. So if you moved yourself over to Facebook, that was definitely a wise move because everybody was leaving MySpace. Having said that, if your social media marketing strategy begins and ends at Facebook and Twitter, you're not really taking advantage of everything that's out there. Now, don't get me wrong, social media is not everything. Personal contact is probably still one of the most powerful ways of touching your fans, but it's good to be a little more strategic. And if you are only using Facebook and Twitter, it could definitely be argued that you're not being strategic. You certainly don't want to waste time on social media, and so that's where things can kind of break down a little bit. But also keep in mind that a lot of the sites and a lot of the apps out there do play well with each other, which means you can cross-promote and you can cross-post as well. Now, these are some of the sites that I would recommend checking out in addition to Facebook and Twitter. And depending on the aesthetic of your music, some of these will work for you and others won't. But you won't really know until you put in a little bit of time with them. And there's a reason why I'm recommending these sites, because they are some of the most popular out there. I would look into LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, MySpace, and there's a new site called Whisper, and I believe the URL is whisper.sh or whisper.sh. And if you're in Europe, go check out VK as well. Yes, I know what you're thinking, so I'm going to cover some of the common objections related to these sites. With LinkedIn, I know it's a professional network, and a lot of people say you can't promote your music on LinkedIn. That's simply not true. I mean, for one thing, you can post status updates just like you would on any other site, and as you build connections, more people are going to see those. You can join different groups and be a part of the discussion, and as long as you're others focused and not self-focused, you should do pretty well. Also, keep in mind that as a musician, your business or your job is music, and there's nothing wrong with being a musician on LinkedIn. Let's move on to Google+. A lot of people will say that this is a dead space. Simply not true. There's a lot of posts that go viral and get +1'd and commented on a lot. Now, there is a little more of a tech focus on Google+, but having said that, there are music communities there as well, and I don't think there's anything saying that musicians cannot be on Google+. There are other advantages worth looking into as well, including Google Authorship, which I have covered on the podcast before. The other interesting part is that if you have a Google+ profile and people search for your name in Google, your latest Google+ post will show up on the right-hand side, along with any photos that you've used in that post. Now let's move on to Pinterest. Now Pinterest is more of a visually focused site. What this means is that photos and videos should work well, and since you're in a band, you should have lots of photos and videos. Now you do have to keep in mind that the main demographic there is women between the ages of 25 and 45. Now, that is a fairly broad range when you really think about it, and it isn't just easy listening music that's going to appeal to that age range, although that might help. The main thing is that Pinterest has been directing a lot of referral traffic, so if you know how to use it, you can get a lot of people going to your Facebook page, your blog posts, or your website, wherever you want to direct them. Let's move on to MySpace. Now, MySpace has dropped considerably in popularity. At one point, it was still in the top 5 or top 6 most popular social networking sites, and now it's about top 10. One of the few things that's probably useful with MySpace is that you can post from MySpace to Twitter and Facebook at the same time. Other than that, it's really not a fully featured website. There aren't a whole lot of things that musicians can do with it. You have to keep in mind, though, that the site is very music-oriented still. In fact, maybe even more than before, meaning that there could be opportunities there for you to showcase your work. Now, I mentioned Whisper a little earlier. This site is mostly just for posting quote-unquote secrets, and basically you can put some text on a photo and share something about yourself. You may be able to find a use for it, you may not, but I thought I would mention it because it is a growing social platform. You may also want to check out photo sharing apps and sites like Instagram or Flickr. There are articles out there about how to market your music with these tools, and I've actually written a couple of them. Now, if you're a blogger, or if you maybe could see yourself writing more often, you might want to check out Web 2.0 sites like Tumblr, Blogger, WordPress.com, and Squidoo. Start submitting content to these sites and direct links back to your own website. Now, I would recommend writing unique and value-adding content for these sites because I don't think they're really going to want to accept any more spun content. And what that is you just simply take an article and then spin it, basically just change the grammar around a little bit to make it look like and seem like a unique article when really it's not. And maybe if you're a prolific writer, you might want to check out article submission sites like eZine Articles. Basically, you can just submit quick 400-word articles and then again create links back to your own website. Now, in each of these categories, there are other sites you could definitely explore. There are other photo sharing sites. There are other article submission sites. And we haven't really even gotten into YouTube or Bandcamp or Reverb Nation. Now, should you really use all of them? Well, probably not. Now, if you want to expand your reach, again, there are opportunities to cross-promote. You can use Instagram to post to Facebook. You can use Instagram to post to Twitter. You can use MySpace to post to Facebook and Twitter, and so on and so forth. There may be some necessity to create a bit of focus at first. So, for example, you may want to actually create a following on Twitter before you start adding all these other sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and so forth. If you build a substantial following on Twitter, of course, you can use that platform to direct people to other sites. And of course, you can always use your own website to let people know the various places that you're on. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, join us on the Facebook community at facebook.com/Dogcast. And of course, you can check out the website at dogcast.com for additional resources.